Good afternoon.
Right out of the gate, notice how formal and methodical this is. That's intentional. Establishing identity and age may seem routine, but in court, every single detail here becomes a foundation for credibility and consent later. Keep that in mind as we move forward.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state and spell your name for the court record?
Yes, Juliana, Juliana Perez, Perez Magalhães, Magalhães.
Age matters here, not just now, but when this relationship began. Prosecutors are quietly setting up a timeline, because juries don't just hear what happened, they judge when it happened.
And how old are you now, Juliana?
25.
And do you know the defendant?
Yes.
What's his name?
Born in Mayfield.
When did you meet him?
Back in October 22.
This distinction is subtle but critical, meeting through family versus meeting privately. Prosecutors want to show this relationship began in a professional, structured setting, not a romantic one. That contrast becomes powerful later.
When did you meet him? When did you meet him?
Well, can you specify? Sorry.
When did you first meet him?
This is a legal landmine. He was my boss. Power imbalance, employment control, living in the same home. Even if both parties are adults, juries are trained to scrutinize consent differently when authority is involved. Ask yourself, how much freedom did she really have?
In person when I first came to the States, and before that, through a video call with the family.
Okay. Do you recall what month or year that was?
When I came to the States?
Yes.
It was October.
Do you know what year?
2021.
Okay. And when you first met Mr. Banfield, what was your relationship to him?
Professional. He was my boss.
And you said he was your boss.
Yeah.
What was your job?
I was their au pair.
And so you said you worked as an au pair. What does that mean?
Au pair is like a nanny position, but somebody comes from another country providing care for their kids, and in exchange they live with their family, and yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
Do you get paid to be an au pair?
Yes.
How much?
$200 a week.
And how long of a stay did you have as an au pair?
We can have from a year to 2 years, but as an au pair, I stayed for a year.
Okay. And did you, so you arrived, you said you arrived in October of 2021, and you said you stayed for a year?
Yeah.
And then did you extend that stay?
Yes.
And how long did you extend the stay for?
I think I might have extended for another year.
Let's talk about when you lived with the Banfield family and worked for them as their au pair. Where did you live?
I lived in their house, in their home.
Okay. And who lived there with you?
It was Brendan, his wife, Christine, and their daughter.
And we know who Brendan is.
Yeah.
Who's Christine?
Christine was Brendan's wife.
And you said their daughter?
Yeah.
What was their daughter's name?
Valerie.
What was your life like with them?
With the family?
Yeah, when you first got there, what was it like?
It was kind of a period for me to adapt to the family, to my job, to the country. But I was very welcome, I guess.
And what was Brendan like when you first came to live with the family and be their au pair?
We barely spoke. Like, my relationship was mostly with Christine and Valerie. Brendan and I barely spoke at all. It was just...
Okay. What was Christine like?
Christine was very friendly, very welcoming, very fair. Yeah.
Did you spend time with her and spend time with Valerie together?
Yes.
And did you spend time on your own with Christine?
Maybe a couple times going to a store or, yeah.
Do you recall if Christine had a blood disorder?
I heard about it, yes.
And do you know the name of it?
I do not know.
Do you know if she took any medication for it?
As far as I know, no.
What was Valerie like?
Valerie is very loving, very caring. It's just,
How old was Valerie when you met her in 2021?
she was 3.5, I guess.
I'm sorry, say that again?
3.5.
And were there any other children that were living in the Banfield's home while you lived there too?
This is the moment everything shifts. Employer to lover, household to secrecy, and prosecutors lock it down with a date, August 2022. From here on out, every message, photo, and decision gets filtered through that timeline.
No,
Do you know if they had an au pair before you were their au pair?
yeah.
Who was that?
It was Amanda.
And when you began working for the Banfields, do you need a minute? When you began working for the Banfields, do you remember what their jobs were?
Yeah,
Do you know what their jobs were?
yeah. Christina was RN, and Brenda was working, I guess, as an investigator for the IRS.
At some point, while you were working for the Banfield family, did your relationship with the defendant change?
Yes.
How did it change?
It became sexual, physical relationship.
And do you recall when the relationship changed?
It was August 2022.
And did you keep the relationship, this new relationship with the defendant, did you keep this a secret?
For my part, some of my friends, they knew because I told them, and I used to post on my Instagram. But for his part, yeah, it was a secret.
Okay. You said you told some friends about it.
Yeah.
Do you remember which friends you told?
I told Beatrice about it, and
And this is why prosecutors love digital evidence. Photos don't forget. Emojis don't lie. Once admitted, these posts stop being her story and become physical proof. Let me ask you, if this relationship was supposed to be secret, why was it public at all?
Pamela.
And did you take any photos of you and the defendant after you began a romantic or physical relationship?
Yes.
And you said you had posted some things to social media?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to show you a couple of photos. And if I could have this view be to the witness and counsel only, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you Commonwealths 51, 52, 53, and 54. This is 51, 52, 53, and 54. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize them?
It's me and Brendan.
And are these social media posts that you made?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, what I would ask the court to do is admit these as Commonwealths 51, 52, 53, and 54.
All right, any objection? Okay, 51, 52, 53, and 54 in evidence.
And we can publish the
Yep.
first one to the jury. Can you tell us who's under the emoji here?
It's Brendan.
And then a couple of these have noise. And then this one, Commonwealth's 53, can you describe who this is?
It's Brendan's hand.
And whose leg is that?
My legs.
And the date on the photo that is posted, is that the date that the photo was taken?
Yes.
And this photo here, Commonwealth 54, who's under the emoji?
It's Brendan.
Do you know when this photo was taken
It's from the same day as the previous picture.
as the previous one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to go back to 52. And in that post, who is present in that post?
His person behind the emoji.
And who is behind the emoji?
Brendan.
And is it you and Brendan singing in that post?
Yes.
So you began a sexual relationship with the defendant in August of 2022 when you were how old?
I was 21.
And when this relationship began, did you ever think about how it might end?
No. I didn't really think it was serious, a relationship.
And did the defendant ever talk with you about any long-term plans for the two of you?
Not initially.
Not initially. Did he ever, though?
Yes.
When did that talk start?
I think it started after he talked about his plan.
Okay. And did he ever talk about the two of you getting married or the two of you having children?
Yes.
And do you recall when that talk began?
Also, after he mentioned his plan.
Did he ever talk about his relationship with his wife, Christine Banfield?
Sometimes it would come up in our conversation and he would talk about it.
And what did he say?
He used to say that she didn't seem to care about where he was, what he was doing. She didn't seem to care about him at all. And that she was helpless and just lazy.
Do you recall when he said those things?
When?
Yes.
Well, many times during our conversation when she came up.
And did he ever talk to you about anything else about his relationship? Did he ever talk about getting a divorce with her?
No, he basically said divorce was not an option.
Did he say why?
Money was involved.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Money.
Okay. Anything else?
Money was involved in Valerie's custody too.
And what about those things? Did he say anything specifically about money or Valerie's custody?
Yeah, he said that he didn't want to have to share Valerie with Christine, that she wasn't good for Valerie. So he wanted to have Valerie full time. And money, because she should have more money than he would if they ever split.